everybody. Welcome to another episode of What a Hell of a Way to Dad. It is Jack back with me. I have Jack on again because we're going to do a all dad question episode. And Jack, you have a couple of teenagers. So you're bringing not only raising teens, but also, you know, you were a school teacher, an elementary school teacher for a while and hosted a kids radio show. So you've got a huge swath of dad expertise that Nate and I are just kind of...
I've got data at the ready. It's true. Yeah, my son is 14 and a half, and this is crazy. Since you and I last spoke, he's been to this park near us in Seattle 3 times to start learning how to drive. Ugh, so it's happening. It's crazy. There's a big former military base that's been turned into a Seattle park called Magnuson Park here in Seattle that has like all the original roads, and it's a pretty well utilized park, but it's so big there are all these little ghost town areas. So he's been doing it. He's been driving our minivan. So I've got a great picture of him behind the wheel of our Toyota Sienna, which was just a mind-numbing transition. I mean, I swear this guy was in pull-ups like a year ago. It's so crazy.
Yeah, and you're starting him out on the minivan. No tiny cars to get used to it. It's just kind of like in the 70s where you had to just learn how to drive a 22-foot-long Cadillac.
Yeah, here's a Hummer. Yeah, the minivan has its advantages. I'm not sure about your awesome new minivan, but ours, the creeping speed, just the idle speed, is a solid 8 miles an hour. So for the first couple times around, you know, all you have to do is take your foot off the brake and that'll do.
Right. Just guide it around.
It's great. And also we have a Fiat, a small Fiat 500, but it's a stick. So even though, you know, that's more his scale, it adds a whole new set of variables in that.
That's fine. You know what? That is if you have to keep that going. We have to keep stick shifts going because I just got rid of our, when we bought the van, we sold our Elantra Touring station wagon, and that was a stick shift. And I didn't drive it all the time, but I miss it, you know, and you gotta have, because like, look, at some point in time, there's going to be a shining moment where your son and a bunch of other kids are going to be like, we have to get out of here. But there's only this, you know, Ford Tempo from 1992 here. What are we going to do? And just like, I got this. I got it.
Yeah, he's going to come to the rescue. Now I feel like we're jumping into dad chat questions from previous editions from Hell of a Way to Dad, because you and Nate talked about this exact topic just a couple of episodes ago. And you were both kind of like, yeah, you don't really need to know it. And I was on the other end having a truly parasocial relationship with you two, yelling at my podcast, feeling like I was a ghost in the machine, emphatically screaming, you have to learn. You have to learn. I think it's really important. I think it's crucial.
You got to know. It's, you know, you may never need it, but if you do need it, it's there.
Yeah, totally.
Right. So Jack, let's answer some questions. So we're going to start with some of our Patreon listeners, people who sent in some messages. So what are some things you've learned that help make a healthy marriage?
Oh, yeah.
How long? Well, first, how long have you and your wife been together?
We got together, and this could have portended like imminent disaster. We got together a week before 9/11. So... You know, like those romantic early dating drives where you don't really have a destination in mind, glued to NPR, listening to on-the-scene reporting from Ground Zero the day of 9/11. That was our early relationship for sure. So we've been together a long time, though.
The beginning of our relationship was certainly a 9/11.
Yeah, totally. We came in with a bang. Too soon? Yeah, so we've been together for 24 years then. Coming up on 24 years, and we got married in 2007. So I guess that means we just hit our 18th anniversary this past summer. And it's kind of unfair because neither of us really have a fighting disposition. Like we never argue about anything ever. Like I think we can both get irritated at things, but like we're pretty even keeled just as an outset. So that said, like I think we've been able to sidestep a lot of the things that we've seen other relationships go through, which is like invariably, like, you know, it's ordinary that when you're, you know, the two soda streams of your life are now streaming together into this one, you know, confluence, there's gonna be friction along the way. And, you know, you have to build patterns really early on for how you're going to deal with it. I guess for us, we didn't really have a lot of friction to begin with, but I still think proaction is the most important thing. We never assume that we know what each other's thinking. We always start by, you know, like setting, this sounds maybe anti-romantic, but setting boundaries early on was really useful in our relationship of like, here's where we're going to collaborate together as a couple. Excuse me. Here are the places that we each kind of need to retain our independence and help define our relationship early on. That kind of proaction has really paid off. And yeah, just generally, I mean, this is a well-worn trope, but not going to bed angry, I think is useful. And being willing to talk about, frustrations when they do happen. Increasingly, the only times that things pop up for us, it's in relationship to our kids and different, guiding philosophies of like, how do we handle this situation? That's been, if we've had any tenuous or stressful moments, it's been in regard to our kids. Like, gosh, this is really not going well. What do we do? And having two different ideas. But I do think that, always pulling back, never shooting from the hip as a parent and always making sure that you're speaking as we, not as me, is super helpful. And that's a skill that we both learned as teachers working on collaborative teams that, if there's a whole village of teachers working to support a student, you never as a teacher want to, suddenly take a hard right turn and veer off whatever plan you'd all put in place for this kid. That kind of transcends into the family situation too. Like, so we've got like a big plan for what's going to be happening behaviorally with our child over these, next weeks or months or whatever. Let's just make sure that we're always kind of working toward that. And if there's a question or like a judgment call, it's okay to say to your kids, you know what, I got to check in with mom about this one and make sure we're on the same page. That's been super useful, I think. I don't know. What about you? How would you answer this question?
I was gonna say my kid tries to be sneaky and is like, well, mom said no, so maybe dad will say yes.
Oh, dude.
I've learned the answer is I don't know the answer to that question. Go ask mom.
And that's it's a great foil for sure. That is like verboten in our house. That is the original sin. Very early on, each of our kids, naturally you would try that. Like if you didn't get the answer you wanted when you're 3, like, hey, here's someone else who appears to have authority.
Right. But you also have decision-making abilities here, Dad. What say you? Can I eat chocolate for dinner?
Yeah, and you seem to be smiling and be more of a yes man right now. You might be the go-to guy. Very early on, we made sure our kids knew that our answers were always going to be the same. And if there were any ambiguity, we were always going to check with each other and always report to each other about what we'd said. And if there was any dissimilarity between those two answers, it wasn't my wife and my issue. It was the kids' issue. We're going to come back to you. If you're getting different information from different people, that's on you. They don't try that.
I know who you're talking to.
Totally.
Yeah. Communication obviously has to be the biggest. Always communicating, kind of what you're doing, what your plans are. Goals are also really good to have. That is something that my wife has been helping me out, especially with the podcast, which is why I've been doing more with the Patreon, is because she's pushing me and saying like, well, you have these other outlets, you have these other places. So like having that team mentality and being open to like changing your mind or being open to saying, I'm wrong about this, or I think you're wrong about this, and we can talk about it, has got to be one of the biggest things that helps. But knowing your partner too, like my wife she gets annoyed and she will be angry, but it's just a flash. So, and in the beginning of our relationship, I would like take that personally, right? She'd be annoyed at something and she'd kind of just like, verbally, I don't even want to say lash out, but just like be angry, just have anger in her voice.
Yeah.
And I would just be like, for like the next 2 hours, like fucking yelling at me about this. And then like and then I go back out to my office and I stew about it and I walk back in an hour later and she's just like, oh, look at this funny video. It's completely forgotten by her. Like she's not mad about it anymore. I'm the one who sat there and held on to that for no reason. So, and I know that, and I understand that. And, my daughter is kind of the same way. She does have her mother's like anger flashes, and just knowing this, like, okay, I know what this is. I know how to handle this. I know that this is not personal, that this is just part of your personality, and being able to roll with that, because I got my own stuff that she also has to roll, just gonna be like, all right, he's in that mood. I just got to roll with it for the next hour or two, and then he'll be out of it. And, knowing that, not holding it against each other is really helpful.
Yeah, I guess it's the difference between like a fast twitch and a slow jerk muscle. Like that fast twitch, that's pre-programmed. That's like brainstem amygdala stuff that you can't really control. But knowing the intention or lack of intention behind it as the person that, witnesses it, it's a lot easier to not take that as an intentional thing. Yeah.
And it's something we tell our daughter and we tell each other is we don't hold grudges. There's never you did this 2 weeks ago and I'm going to hold on to that and I'm going to throw it in your face later on. Nobody does that. The only thing my daughter holds a grudge for is the Miami airport for some reason. She went to the Miami airport once when she was like 4, and it's like a core memory of hating the Miami airport. I don't even know why. I don't remember the Miami airport at all. It's just an airport. They all suck.
I think if you took like a poll of Americans, probably most Americans actually have like a deep, dark, like chunk of coal in their heart for one particular airport. It's Boston for me. The Boston airport is 100% that. No question.
I've always hated O'Hare because I've never flown out of time out of O'Hare. Like anytime I have to fly to Chicago, I'm delayed by 30 to 45 minutes. But I mean, that's not, I've been to so many because of the Army. They all become the same. If they have a USO, I'm happy. Like I've got a free place that I can go and park and grab some snacks. And like usually they have a dark room you can sit in. And
that's what you got to do. Like deconditioning therapy. You got to like intentionally fly into Miami, but have like Chuck E. Cheese waiting at the end of the jetway.
Exactly.
We're going to reprogram this joint. You're never going to think of this place the same way again. One more thing too, like the whole seeing your partner as a resource rather than, a competitor. And I mean, saying that out loud, obviously that makes sense. But I think there are probably a lot of ways that we all do that. Like, if you hold your partner in high regard and you really want to keep up with them, there are times that you might unknowingly be actually competing with them and feel defensive when they make a suggestion that actually would help you out a ton if you could be open to it. Whereas if you see them as someone who's actually like, this person is an amazing resource who knows me better than anyone ever. And if there were anyone who could give me guided, targeted research that helps me in my own pursuits, this is the person. Like they're an expert in me. Like you got to listen to that stuff. It's the best advice you're ever going to get.
Yeah. Who knows how fucked up I am better than my own wife?
Exactly.
Better than my own, who can sit there and give me, and I will admit, like kind of in the beginning, because we have our separate businesses. She does travel, but we're basically merged now. Like both of she just does everything underneath the Hell of a Way to Die business now. And, certainly kind of in the beginning, you get that just like, oh, you're telling me how to run my business. But like, no, you're telling me how to run our business because this makes money for us. This is our thing. It gets better if somebody else helps. So that was, I'm not going to say like a huge hump to get over, but it was one of those mental, just like, what do you think you know? And then like, well, she's like, here's everything I know from running my own business that was kind of different than how you ran your business and how you gathered people and did everything. So, and we're doing different things. We're doing in-person events, and we're doing more of those. So we're, different things come in like design and what are we going to put out versus, we're at this convention versus that convention. So, and it's incredible to have a resource, even just like when I'm doing design stuff and I say, what do you think about this?
Totally.
Like last night, she's like, look, I was doing some Halloween stuff and she's like, look, this is good, but it's 10 o'clock. Why don't you stop looking at it and go to bed? You can take you don't have to finish this today. And it's like, yeah, you know what? It's good idea. I've done an hour and a half worth of work. I've got some ideas down, and we can revisit this later. And it's incredibly helpful for anything, any avenue in your life, not just running a business.
Yeah. I by the way, I love the idea that your wife's travel planning business is under the heading of Hell of a Way to Die. That's just great. Well, Cozumel, brought to you by Hell of a Way to Die.
Look, we could do a podcast cruise. They have theme cruises all the time. There's plenty of them that we want to go on, and there are kind of podcast ones.
Oh, for sure, totally. You could charter the Titanic. It's great. There's something about this trip. I just have this sense of foreboding. Maybe it's that I booked it from Hell of a Way to Die. I'm not sure.
Well, don't worry. We melted all the ice caps. So
good. That's right. You're right. Smart.
All right. So here's a good question for you. What do you think some of the defining characteristics of dad rock are? And conversely, what makes a band mom rock?
Okay.
Mom
that's
rock
interesting.
Exists? Yeah. We always talk about dad rock. We don't talk about mom rock.
Let me just ruminate on mom rock for a second while I address dad rock, because I don't actually know that answer. I have one idea of that answer, but dad rock, case in point, we're going to see Wilco at the Woodland Park Zoo here in Seattle next week. I think Wilco is 100% dad rock. And I don't know if that's because it wasn't obviously when they were making Yankee Hotel Foxtrot 25 years ago when my wife and I started dating. And part of it is they weren't dads, at least that they knew of. They probably were based on just band life in general. They weren't dads. and their listeners were probably around the same age, 25 years later. They didn't like age. They stayed with their audience. They didn't like keep reinventing themselves to have 18-year-old like core audience members like they used to have. So obviously their fans became parents too, or at least of parenting age. Not to mention like they all got dad bods. So, you know, they all put on like a good 50 midsection pounds. And, you know, those ironic ringer T-shirts are bulging a little more than they used to.
Yeah,
so,
not bulging because you're in the gym anymore. Bulging because you're at the Ponderosa down the down the road.
Yeah, from Jersey Mike's. So, yeah, I think dad rock is simply, it's not even a genre. It's just what happens when musicians become dads and their fans do too. And music has sort of moved on and they haven't. And as someone who's going to see Wilco next week, I'm very much in that group for sure.
Wilco was actually the first band that I saw live because they were opening for REM. And I think I went and saw them when I was like 14. I don't remember Wilco, but I had a good time with REM.
Yeah, they on that tour, they went to Bumbershoot, Seattle's like big Labor Day weekend music festival that happens in Seattle Center. And they played Memorial Stadium. So I went to see them on that tour too. I'm a little older than you, so I think I was probably like in college. Maybe I just graduated, maybe 22 or 23 or something. But yeah, I saw that. And I thought that Wilco was better than REM too. But what are you going to do?
Like I said, I was like 15. I don't remember very much of it anyway. You know, I would, as you said, the bands that continue to kind of grow with their audience. Dropkick Murphys is a great example of that, because Dropkick Murphys now write songs about like, you know, the girl that I loved back then and now she's a mom and now, you know, my life kind of sucks, but you know, I'm happy. You know, it's that like, it's no longer the I'm full of piss and vinegar and I want to kick somebody's ass. It kind of is like that, but also sometimes looking back on past mistakes or looking back on, you know, past triumphs and, you know, reliving, you know, not necessarily, I guess, reliving, but at least understanding is like, we're all in our 50s and so are the people who still listen to Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah, totally.
Like the 40s and 50s. So, you know, I'm 42. But I was also listening to Eazy-E on my walk today with the dog. So like, you know, is NWA gangster rap dad rock? I mean, it is now because all those guys are also dads. Like Ice Cube sends his kids to private school.
Yeah.
And he was talking about shooting cops with AK-47. So, you know, is that dad rock? I mean, at this point, I think so.
Totally. Yeah. I was turning my son on to De La Soul and played 3 Feet High and Rising for him, which he actually really liked and has listened to a lot on his own. But he asked like, so like, where does this fit into rap? I'm like, yeah, it's kind of dad rap. And I mean, no, it isn't. Like it wasn't when they put it out, but it is now.
Right. Like the Beastie Boys wasn't dad rap in, you know, 1989 when License to Ill dropped. But
yeah, totally.
In 2025, that is some dad hip hop right there.
I have this theory that I don't know. I'm not sure if I agree with this anymore or not, but for a long time, my contention was that bands really could only last or should only last for 10 years because this is what invariably happens. Like you lose the initial fire that made whatever made you great. And then everything after that, maybe you're still doing great things, but you're then always being compared to who you were when you were young and looking back. But also you got to watch your audience just start like bringing walkers and canes to the show. Yeah. Like, I don't know, sidestep, like get a job at the grocery store. Like maybe your time is done. Like live off the royalties.
No, because then we wouldn't have Fleetwood Mac and we wouldn't have everything that you know who did it right is Starship. You know, Jefferson Starship, all just reinvented. Like not only are we going to continue to make music, but every decade we're just going to change our name and do something wildly different.
This is such an interesting take. I don't think I've ever heard anyone contend that We Built This City was an example of a band doing it right. That's amazing.
Well, didn't they?
I've never heard someone say that. I really appreciate that perspective.
Jack, I have a historically bad taste in music. It is not good. It has been discussed many times. I've seen Insane Clown Posse in concert on purpose.
Oh, hey, all right, good for you. Yeah, there's no such thing as bad music.
I did not face paint.
Okay,
it's maintained.
But you're wearing it now. People can't see that. This is audio only. But yeah.
Well, this is just Thursday. This is self-affirmation.
Oh yeah, good. Throwback Thursday. You're wearing your baby face today. No,
exactly.
No face paint. So as for mom rock, like I can really only speak to kids music and that's been my bread and butter, making music for the last 20 years. There are a few bands of moms who have basically brought their punk bandishness into their mom era. And, they end up just being like, loud and tattooed moms who were doing what they used to do. But their whole like PR story is that they're moms. So it's not like a descriptor that you would hit second or third when describing this band. It's the first thing that it would hit, and it's how they sell themselves as moms who rock. But yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of mom rock before, I guess, like applied to adult music, like just regular music for grown people.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like we could imagine like, the entirety of Jagged Little Pill, probably. Meredith Brooks. I don't know. I don't. If you're a mom, write in. Tell us what mom rock is. Let's get a good definition going on this.
Yeah, and like, is like in the same way that dad rock is part of it is that they just got old, but the other part is suddenly the content of their songs is about this wistful wisdom that you get as you get older. Is mom rock the same way? And who's an example? Or is it just Meredith Brooks made music a long time ago, and the only people still listening to it are now moms? Which could also be. I'm not really sure.
I mean, I know a lot of moms like Taylor Swift. I'm not deep into the Taylor Swift lore or anything.
Right.
I'm aware she exists and that people like her. So I don't know if that would. She's like in her 30s, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's not a mom, but she does a lot of music that moms like. I don't know. Maybe moms just musically are very underserved at the moment.
My 11-year-old daughter would say that it would be peak cringe, to use her words, to refer to Taylor Swift as mom rock. So,
well, then she better go tell moms to stop enjoying.
Oh, totally, because moms have the keys and the money to pay for those tickets.
All right. So how different is the shift in your relationship between you and your teens versus your relationship as a teen with your parents?
Oh, it's so supremely different. And my wife has really helped me with this. I think she had a more open relationship with her parents growing up. I definitely didn't. My parents split up when I was 11. And for better or worse, because I suddenly coexisted in two worlds, I kind of got to decide how I was going to present to both of my parents, because I'd, spend 3 days at one house and then 3 days at the other or whatever, and spend all that time kind of calculating and thinking like, all right, so to make things as easy as possible, here's how I'll present when I get to the next place, and just constantly doing that. But there was never a moment where I really kicked back and relaxed, I think, in quite the same way that my kids can do. The only thing that we, are slowly phasing in is like language around the house. Our 14-year-old, my daughter's away at choir camp this week. And so, he's off the chain linguistically, and he's just dropping F-bombs all the time. Which is, it's kind of fun. Like
it is. We do the same. Like when my daughter and I are downstairs playing video games, she lets some F-bombs fly. She'll give out a die motherfucker, and that's all well and good until, just like, this is fine as long as it's here, as long as it's in these very specific circumstances. And then she dropped one in front of my in-laws. So,
oh, totally. That's so huge.
We had to revisit that.
Yeah, read in the room. Our daughter is actually holding everyone back. My son has like dipped his toe in the pool, like while just the four of us had been sitting down at dinner, and dropped like a B word or something. And my daughter's just like, I'm not ready for that yet. She's like the church lady. She just pulls it all back down. So when she's away, the mice will play. But she's entering middle school next year. So I think it's, her days are numbered in terms of, her purity around the house. But it's fun that, we can actually talk about pretty much anything, still maintaining like, we're not authoritarian parents, but we definitely have boundaries and expectations behaviorally, just like you're talking about. Like, you can't talk like that when the grandparents are over at dinner. Like, there are a whole host of topics that are just, even if they, you have to have a filter. You can't just let all that stuff out. So, how to develop that, and that you could trust them in each situation to navigate it. That's the goal right now.
Yeah. My swearing depends on who I'm talking to, because I don't, even like with my dad, I'll swear in front of my dad, but I try not to in front of my mom. And it's always very like scandalous to me when my mom does something more than a damn or a hell, and then it's just like, Mom, what are you doing?
you become like a Southern gentleman. Oh, I do declare.
Ooh, here's a good one. So it's a pretty long question, but basically it comes down to your coffee, your morning coffee. How do you make your coffee? What do you like? Go for it. You look like you're ready to answer this question.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a bit of a zealot at this point, and this might might feel like a multi-level marketing pitch, but I swear I've got no skin in the game here. But for the last 2 years, I've been roasting my own coffee at home from green coffee beans, and it has been life-changing. So I used to just get I'm a drip coffee lover. I don't want to do anything fussy or fancy. I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't really like lattes very much, but it's also just a total pain to do all that stuff in the morning. So in terms of making coffee, we just have a regular countertop coffee maker that we set the night before so that when I am vertical, I have coffee in me within 20 seconds of being out of bed. That's crucial because I'm so deeply addicted to coffee. I'm on my third cup right now and it's 9:30 in the morning. But in terms of making it, we got bags at Costco, whatever their eco, shade grown organic thing was.
So are you buying your beans from Costco?
No. So this is pre-revelation.
Gotcha. Because we're still a Kirkland brand coffee house as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Big 3-pound tub for $20.
Yeah. So we were getting I think it's called the San Francisco Bay Company, whole bean, rainforest blend. It's French roast, which I drank forever. We drank it for 20 years, thought it was great. It was French roast. I didn't quite know what that meant. And then I went to a friend's house who was roasting his own coffee and tried just a cup. And it was easily the best cup of coffee I've ever had in my life. It was so unbelievable in every way. And then went back to my house and had another cup. And I realized how burnt the coffee was that we'd been drinking all this time. So I bought this machine that looks sort of like a toaster oven, a little bigger with a drum that rotates inside. And you put a pound of green coffee beans in per time. It takes about 20 minutes. It goes through the roasting process. And then you get a week's worth of roasted coffee that's super fresh that you can roast to your exact preference. And there's a company in Oakland, California called Sweet Maria's that you can get all this stuff in bulk and it's cheap. It's $6 or $7 a pound for green coffee beans.
Oh, okay.
And, that is about what you're paying at Costco for the roasted ones.
Yeah.
But the quality is so much better when it's roasted. So at this point, I've done, probably 150 roasts of coffee. The machine was about maybe $350 or something. So amortized out, I'm down to $2 a pound in order to have such a vastly improved experience.
Coffee,
yeah, it's great. It's the best coffee I've ever had.
I'll have to look into that because my wife and I drink coffee every morning more because it's a physical addiction than anything. I don't need the coffee. I just enjoy having morning coffee. And we had gotten this cold brew maker. And the cold brew maker, we bought it secondhand because we love to buy stuff from Savers. And it was great. And it worked for about 6 months and then it stopped working. Some of the, it works by you put this carafe of coffee down and then you put your coffee grounds into this vacuum sealer thing. And it takes the water over and it does magic over there and it brings the coffee over. And then, you have cold brew coffee in 15 minutes. And unfortunately that broke. So we had to go back to, because it's summer, we went back to our iced coffee maker, which is just a drip coffee maker, but taller so that you can put a big tall cup under it full of ice. And that's fine. I do that with oat milk, or we do, because I'm lactose intolerant too. So we get either oat milk or Aldi has really good, a really good off, non-lactose. I want to say it's almond, but yeah. So, but during winter is my time for real coffee because that's when I break out the French press and I bounce back and forth between either I will make a cup of coffee in the French press, and we also bought secondhand. We bought an electric kettle, which is such a weirdly a weird thing that Americans don't have.
I agree. It's insane that we don't have it because it's so convenient and crazy fast. It's
one of those things that the crossover between us and the UK, we don't have very many of those hot water heaters. And if you do, they're expensive. We got a Cuisinart one that we got it for $10, but it's $70 or $80. In UK, they got them everywhere. But in the UK, they don't have box fans. So I don't know. So during the winter, it's either going to be making French press or I will do that big tall thing, my big tall carafe, and just throw tea bags in it, 2 or 3 tea bags, and just have some chai tea or some other wintry kind of hot beverage. I enjoy the cold weather and the hot beverages more than the opposite way at this point. I used to be very much a summer guy, but I'm not there anymore. It's been too ungodly hot for the last 2 weeks. So I am all about autumn and winter and my hot, spicy drinks again.
Yeah, there's that theory that on a hot day, if you drink a hot drink, it actually is a cooling experience, which I tried in Phoenix. Recess Monkey, my band, played a show in Phoenix, middle of July. It was 110 degrees outside, and we went to an outdoor coffee place, and I got just a huge, piping hot black coffee. Didn't cool me down.
I wouldn't think it would.
No. What are they talking about?
Yeah, one of the times I had to go out in the field and play soldier, one thing that they always have to do is they have to create a smoking area. And they do that by just kind of, they find an area away from like where everybody is living and working. And they'll put like this, we call it engineer tape. And it's a reusable, roll of tape that you can, that you put out. It's not sticky, but just so they square it off and they put a cigarette can there and they put a fire extinguisher there. And they say that's where you go smoke. So during this one field training, they didn't want to put us near the woods because they didn't want sparks to catch the woods on fire. So they just like in the middle of this campsite that we have, they just like scraped the ground and gave us a 5 by 5 foot square to go stand and smoke in. And we do these things during the summer. So it is 100 degrees outside. You don't wear shorts and t-shirts in the Army. You got to wear your full like heavy boots and everything. And at one point I'm standing out there, full direct sun, 10 o'clock in the morning, smoking a cigarette with a piping cup of coffee in my hands. And one of the privates walks up to me. And for those of you in the military, if you've ever had this moment where you kind of discover when you become a sergeant, and it was in that moment when a younger soldier walked up and pulled a cigarette out and said, "Sergeant, are you drinking hot coffee right now?" And I said, "Even better, Private, it's stale hot coffee." because on this thing, I was the only one who said, "Hey, take that coffee maker and throw it in so that we have it out there," because nobody packed a coffee maker.
Oh my gosh.
And the only coffee we had was this can of like this plastic can of Folgers coffee that was at least 3 years old.
Oof.
Yeah. So, and just having that, like, you know what? I'm sweating. I'm smoking a cigarette. I'm drinking the worst coffee of my entire life, and I've never felt more fucking alive, Private. You have no idea. You have no, like, the misery that I'm experiencing just makes it so much better.
Yeah. You got to go for the most hyperbolic state. I did not think that's where that story was going. I was imagining like how many people were crammed into that 5 by 5 square, all smoking at the same time. I was imagining sort of a dance floor type experience there.
It's usually a rotation, and at a certain point, we did have somebody pass out in the smoking area, so they moved us to the shaded wood line. The army gets it right sometimes after somebody passes out and becomes a heat casualty for the rest of their life. All right. So the next question: how do you decide what house repairs, or I can do that myself and I gotta call a guy?
Oh, this is big. Yeah.
Do you do a lot of house repair?
I do a ton of house repair.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a handy guy then.
Very handy. That really was born of being a teacher, living on 2 teacher salaries and owning a 100-year-old house, our first house, and really wanting it to be nicer.
Been there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So early on, we just kind of, the fear curve was giving yourself permission to break something. So like to tear out a wall. And then you're in a situation where you've just got to fix it. Like, necessity is the mother of invention. So you're going to figure it out, or you're going to live in squalor for the rest of your time in this house. So that was the first thing to overcome. Like, I gotta be willing to mess this whole thing up. So over the course of 9 years in our first house, we ended up doing a studs out remodel of the whole house, one room at a time.
Oh, wow.
With all systems like wiring, plumbing. I re-sided it. We paid someone to put metal roofing on because it just seems like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to call a guy.
Yeah.
I'm getting a new roof too. It's not going to be done by me.
Yeah. And in fact, a couple days ago, we just had, I'm about to paint our house, our current house. I don't know if this is the case all over the U.S. or if this is just a Seattle thing, because, Seattle's a fairly moneyed place thanks to our Amazonian brethren. But I got quotes to paint our house, bids between $25,000 and $37,000 to paint a house. It's insane. So, that's not going to happen.
Well, I will tell you, because I have worked with contractors, and I have friends who are contractors, and sometimes you will get a bid because the guy looked at your house and said, "I don't want to do that."
Oh, totally.
But I can't tell the guy I don't want to do that. So if he's going to make me do it, I'm going to make it worth my while.
That could very well be. Yeah, our house is it's really tall, and it's like an old Craftsman with lots of faceting and detail and stuff, and access is kind of hard in some places. So that could very well be.
So you're just going to do it yourself?
Yeah, I had 4 4 people come out, and for each one, after I got the first bid, it was like, oh, dude, this is terrible news. So I'm just going to learn a couple of like tricks of the trade from each person who gives me a quote. So for each one, like I had a couple questions in mind, like, let's see if I can slip these in. And over the course of all those bids, I got like some really good recommendations of which paint to use and why, what their surface prep situation is, what order they go in, hand brushing versus roller, like back brushing, like all that kind of stuff. So I'm feeling good. I repainted our old house.
Okay. So you've got a little background in it.
Yeah. But anyway, 2 days ago, we hired a company. The thing that was holding me back was pressure washing the house. And that is such a pain. And I hired a company to come and soft wash our house. And they cleaned it so well that like now it doesn't even need to be painted, but I've already started painting. So I still have to paint the whole house because it's a different color. So I learned there, maybe get the whole thing clean before you start hunting for new paint colors. But
yeah, now we just have an accent wall on the outside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, every minute I'm not working on podcasts in August, I'll be on a ladder painting my house. I'm buying the paint today.
Buy yourself a good rig or something.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't fall off of that roof. We had to redo our kitchen a couple of years ago because the cast iron pipe that went into the wall broke. And it was kind of one of those situations where like one of our friends came over who's a contractor and he says like, look, we're going to have to pull this away from the wall, like this whole cabinet system.
Yeah.
And it's so old that I don't know if you're going to be able to put it back. Like I can't guarantee it. Totally. So we had to do like, well, all right, then we're just going to rip the entire kitchen out, like take it down. We didn't take it down to the studs, but I was almost there at one point because the inside of our house is all plaster. And in the 60s, when our house was built, when you were doing tiling or you were putting anything onto plaster, you used cement and not the really nice bonding stuff that we have for like ceramic, where if you want to remove it, it removes very easily. So there's these walls that we had that were plaster, but then also had like from, I would say like, 3 feet down to the floor is just this impenetrable concrete layer. Like even my impact drills aren't getting through it.
Wow.
So it's impossible to like, when you have to fasten stuff to the wall, it's just like really difficult to do. So I'm standing there and my wife and I are both standing there. The entire house, the entire kitchen is down. There's no floor in it. It's down to plywood floors. And I'm looking at this wall and I'm just like, if we took this wall out tonight, which we could redo all the wiring and we could throw drywall up really easily. And it was just that like, that was the moment we pulled back. That was the moment we're just like, I don't think we have to do this because we're just calculating costs of like how much it's going to cost for all that plaster to be hauled out and then disposed of.
Totally.
And everything that we're going to have to do to rewire it. And you're going to find other problems.
Of course.
When you open it up, right? And then you're going to have to fix those. And it's like, we got everything to build the kitchen. So what we did end up doing is we got some really thin 1/4-inch drywall and put that up against the wall to kind of mask it.
Oh, I've done that. Great solution. Yeah.
Yeah. Mask it up. Drywall is easy enough that even if you fuck it up, you can fix it.
Yeah.
And the more you work with drywall, the more comfortable you get with it and the more you're going to learn about it. So we did that and we covered it up and it's great. And we managed to get, because the cabinetry has to have like these hooks that are installed into the wall that it kind of hangs on. So all of that was in, and it is one of those, not only that, not only are we not like mitigating the concrete, somebody else is going to have to deal with it too. But when we started tearing up the floor, there were 3 floors that were all layered on top of each other.
Yeah. I've experienced that.
So we pulled off the first floor and we found the second floor. It's like, all right, well, it's an old floor, so we'll get rid of this. We'll get down to the plywood and we'll be good. We pull up that floor and we find asbestos.
Hey-o.
And then that's the other like, all right. And my wife was a flooring contractor for many years. And she said, look, here's the thing about asbestos. You don't have to do anything about it. You just cover that shit back up.
Totally.
And so we put down a thin layer of plywood. I've got a Sharpie and wrote all over the plywood asbestos underneath.
Beware.
Right. Because the floor that we put down, is this like unrolled linoleum floor that's phenomenal. We just bought this big roll of it from Lowe's, and our kitchen's small enough that I basically cut I gave myself a template. I put butcher paper down, gave myself a template, took all that template out, and then cut the floor and then rolled it all down and kind of glued it down in a couple places.
Smart, yeah.
Perfect solution.
Yeah.
But, if we ever want to change the floor or whoever comes next will know, don't fuck with this. There's asbestos. Don't get down there and start breaking stuff up. Cause like asbestos is fine if you leave it alone. But if you're going to start pulling it up, you got to do it right. Otherwise you're going to get mesothelioma and you're going to get a call from a lawyer.
Yeah. So just as to go back to the initial question of like, how do you know? My scale is probably off a little bit because I truly enjoy all that stuff. And I think a lot of people are just repelled by, I don't know, like the bloody knuckles part of working on a house, like the hitting your thumb with a hammer and then hitting it again right afterward. Like there are just only so many irritations that you can get to. My threshold is, I guess, pretty high because I guess I have a good enough three-dimensional imagination that I'm always guided by like, dude, this is going to be so great when it's done. It's worth it. Like I'm going to tough it through.
I want to solve this problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to say, I watched somebody replace the wax ring like on a toilet, fix the whole toilet up, put the wax ring down, rebolt everything down. And it's like, oh, I had to pay $100 for this.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. And the next time I did it, I was like, I just watched him do it. And it's like, all right, easy enough. And now I know how to do it.
I used to think that like contractors or carpenters were just geniuses for knowing all this stuff. And it's really just something you learn just case by case. And it's very easy to look at the entire gestalt of renovations or repair or whatever as just one huge mass of skills that you need to acquire all of before you start. But if you have a growth mindset and you're not scared by the premise of learning, then you can actually do quite well for yourself if you trust that everything is learnable over time. But it's definitely a growth mindset kind of endeavor. If you don't have that innately, I think it is just a perpetual frustration. And if you hyperfixate on this project's undone, I can't go to sleep without it being finished, that could be very challenging. Living in squalor.
Don't let your ADHD get the best of you with it.
Yeah. And one last thing, a great turnkey solution for that squalor thing for us was, though we were doing all the work ourselves and saving thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in labor costs by doing this work at our own speed, the house would be a mess after these projects. And we realized we really need to pay someone to clean our house. So that's the one splurge that we still do now, that I'm going to put so much effort into this place, but at least once a week, I know it's going to be really, really clean. And I don't have to sweat like, sawdust and things like that in the intermediate moments because I know it's going to get cleaned up and I don't have to sweat that level of detail. That opened up a whole lot of opportunity for me.
We do a monthly house cleaning, and yeah, it's very, because my wife and I just don't have the ability to do that kind of deep cleaning that we're asking for from somebody else, just time and all the other things. So yeah, we do that same thing. We got one more question.
All right, let's
here.
do this.
I have a three-nager who just discovered lying. I wanted to know, how did you handle talking to your kids about lying at a young age?
Okay.
Well, I'll just say, like, we had this problem with our daughter for a while. And one of the things that helped us out was because she really beats herself up when she knows that she did something wrong or she knows she's lying. And like, we can always tell she's lying because she was freaking out about it. And our biggest thing was like, look, we just want you to be honest. Like, I'm not going to yell at you if you're honest with me. that's all we're asking for, and not like punishing for it, because like it's just a boundary testing thing. Right. It's just like trying to see, and if like less than and not going for like, I'm going to punish you for doing this, but kind of a like, here's why this is a problem, why what you're doing is a problem. And I think that conversation, it took a while. It's not going to be like you're going to say it once. You have a 3-year-old, they're not going to listen to you, and sometimes you just have to push through 6 months of a child being a child. But having those like, just like, look, I want you to be honest for these reasons. Like, if you're lying, I'm not going to believe you when you are telling the truth. When you do these things, like, here's how you're hurting yourself, here's how you're hurting other people, and it's just going to be a lot easier if you tell the truth. Yeah.
So I think we had similar conversations too. My wife and I are big believers in natural consequences, which I think is a really nice way to kind of establish boundaries in a non-emotional way, even. As teachers, it's like a bread and butter tool of, so a kid lies in whatever context it is. If you pull back and just think like in the overall like family system, what a lie does is it erodes trust. Trust is something that a family, and especially a parent and kid, are powered by, because a parent's job is to only be able to relinquish enough control and give enough responsibilities and privileges that we feel like we can trust our kids to take on. So like, I want to let you just go play in the park by yourself right now, but that's contingent on me being able to trust that what you say you're going to do is what you really do. So it took a few times of when that trust eroded, when that vanished because a kid lied, to be able to just say, okay, well, so now we're in this really tough situation where we had this trust and you felt this really great, freedom and the responsibilities and privileges. And now we can't actually trust that you're going to live up to your end of the expectation. So we got to roll that back. So, now
we got to build that back up again.
Yeah. And it's going to suck too, because we're going to go to the park. But in order to go there, you and I are going to have to hold hands the whole time so that I can trust that you're in the right place. Like nothing ruins a kid's experience more than having to hold a hand. It's the worst.
Yeah. And I got to say also, it's so like, you got to be careful with it because like you have to understand that you're punishing yourself sometimes.
Oh,
too.
definitely. Yeah.
Like you got to make sure it's like, is this something that I'm okay with following through with? Because like we don't let our daughter watch YouTube freely, but we're like, well, if you want to watch YouTube, you can watch it out here on the big TV while a parent is here. Like watch whatever you want. And she really likes this Minecraft YouTuber called Preston Plays, who is incredibly annoying, but like, content wise is fine. Like he's a YouTuber. I find all YouTubers very annoying, but like he's just playing Minecraft with his friends and, he's showing off cool things and doing, he's not doing anything that I'm like, this is offensive and objectionable. So like you find yourself in that place where it's just like, yes, I've done it. I've done the proper parenting thing and I'm monitoring what they're watching and God damn it, what they're watching is so bad. Can't tell you how many kids TV shows I had to suffer through.
We had a similar thing where at dinner one night, our son, he came to dinner with this really weird theory about Star Wars. It was like it didn't matter at all what it was about. But the more that he talked, the more it was clear he was just regurgitating something that he had heard a guy on YouTube saying, but he was saying it like it was his own words. And when we pushed down on it, he was like, well, I mean, he said it. So, I mean, it's out there. It's true. And we're like, oh, no, you now are in a position where someone who's speaking authoritatively with like, good charisma on screen, who's telegenic, you're just going to believe anything they say. Whoops. This is how we got all this happening right now.
I did have to, my daughter and I started playing Among Us. And the first time she was just like, well, this guy says that green killed him. So I'm going to vote for green. It's like, well, how do you know that guy's not lying to you? And she had that just like, oh shit. Like that moment of just like, they could all be lying. I'm like, yes, it's the point of the game. They're all lying. Everybody's lying. Her favorite part of the game is just running around and doing the little, you go, I don't know if you've played Among Us. Yeah. So you go around, you do the little tasks as the crewmate. That's all she wants to do. She just gets annoyed when she gets killed.
Oh yeah. It was such a great COVID game for our family. So yeah, we had to sit side by side with my son and unlock YouTube channels then one after another and, preview 10 hours of content with him and talk about like deceptive editing and why do you think they mentioned this product? Like, what's product placement, all that kind of stuff. But in the larger sense, it was a really great exercise in critical thinking. So I'm glad we did it. And I think he learned a lot from it. But, that's another trust thing. Like we have to be able to trust that you're going to do good thinking when we're not there to do that thinking for you. And that lying is part of that.
Well, Jack, I appreciate you spending another morning with me answering questions. We didn't get through all of them. So if we did not get to your question, we will save it for next time. I'm sure that we will do this again. There's all kinds of good stuff in here about doing drugs and watching screens and whatnot. All the things that people need to know how to tell their children how to or not do.
Right on.
All right, everybody, thank you for listening. As always, we have our Patreon, patreon.com/hellofawaitodie. If you sign up for the Patreon at any level this month, the month of August, you are going to get entered in to win a free sign from the store. It's my nuclear waste in this house, we believe. This is not a place of honor. Handmade, mailed directly to you. That is only if you are on the Patreon by the end of August. So get on that. The link is down below in the notes. Jack, as always, thank you so much. And everybody, will talk to you next week.
Toodaloo.